This is the Camtree power mount, and these are the shots we got with it. Everything centers around this mount right here. So you take the leg with the length that you want, you screw it in, and then you take the ball mount that you want. This one's already screwed into the suction cup, so I can just screw this right in, and then boom. Now you can adjust it right here, righty-tighty, and then lefty-loosey. So we can move this how we want it, lefty-loosey again, and then boom. Now with this ball mount, you can loosen it to where now you can move this and articulate it exactly where you want. But you need to be careful to not unscrew the leg right here. Okay, and then you attach 3 of those, and then you can put this wherever you want it. There are also these extra suction cups that you can screw in these holes right here. Now these holes are meant for you to hook in and then attach the other hook onto the camera mount. And then once you have them attached, you would tighten it to get it to your desired length. But yeah, pretty simple to understand. Another thing I need to mention is that this Camtree power mount system comes with its own bowl mount that you can screw in to the mount itself. This would be great for leveling. The problem is that my tripod head can't actually fit in this thing. So it can go on the top, but then this can't actually fit. So keep in mind, for my review, this is the problem that I ran into, so I ended up just screwing this directly onto the platform. So that made leveling a lot harder because it meant that I had to rely on actually leveling the legs. It doesn't actually come with its own head, so you have to use your own head. And if your head can't actually fit under there, well, you're not going to be able to level this very easily. All right, now some of you are probably wondering how strong these things are, and let me tell you, these things are quite strong. Once you get these down, you're gonna struggle trying to get these off. So here's the suction cup right here. Put it down. You should push it down so that way it's flat. And then this goes down. Boom. Now that was pretty difficult. But yeah, this thing, apparently the whole car is moving because I'm trying to pull this thing off. I could probably pry it, but yeah, I mean, that's pretty difficult. Now, when you go about attaching this car mount to the car, it's best to go in with a plan beforehand. You need to know exactly where you're going to place the camera, and you need to know where you're going to place the suction cups. If you don't go in with a plan, attaching this is going to take you much longer to do because it's not necessarily the easiest thing to maneuver and get around. Also, make sure you have multiple people to help you attach the mount. It's best to have one person keeping the camera level while the other people focus on attaching the legs. Now I'll go over all the shots we got, along with the problems that we experienced and the solutions we used to get over them. Alright, so the first shot we got was of the tire. Now, the way we got this was by actually putting the camera upside down and let it hang off the side. It was a little precarious and it did shake quite a bit and it did move out of its position a little bit, but it's still a really cool shot and it's the shot I wanted the most, which is why I got it first. Next, we got a group of shots all from the same position on the hood of the car. The shot pointed straight up, the shot pointed forward, the shot pointed left, and the shot pointed up and to the right are all from the hood of the car. I just wanted to try out a few different things to see what looked good and just to get a bunch of footage really quickly instead of having to do multiple different positions. We actually got quite a bit of good footage from doing it very simply. Now you might be wondering why we didn't shoot towards the driver and the passenger. Well, we did, and this is the footage we got. Yeah, it doesn't look too good now, does it? You see, if you're going to shoot during the day towards the driver through some glass, well, you're going to need a polarizer. But even if you do use a polarizer, if there's a lot of clouds in the sky, which means that it's really white and it's really bright, you're not going to be able to cut through, because the way a polarizer works is it's able to reveal the blues in the sky by making them darker. But when you have a lot of clouds in the sky, or you have the sun directly above you, can't actually cut through. The reason I got this footage was to show you this, that even if you do get a car mount, there's still other accessories you have to get for it to actually work. Now, that's why we decided to get some night shots as well. Now, I didn't put this in the montage because it didn't really work well with all the other footage. When I shot this, it took us quite a while to get the lighting correct. First, we made it orange and it just didn't feel right, and then we made it green so that way it looks like the dashboard in the car, which will look kind of nice. And then we turned on some lights in the car. When you're shooting at night, it's very dark, which is why you got to put some lights in there. And because it was so dark and we didn't have much street lights around the neighborhood, the car footage just didn't look that interesting. Now, if we were driving in the city, then I think the footage would look a lot cooler. One of my favorite parts is when you see the street lamp and the reflection of the car. That's really cool. The next two shots we got were of me driving. Now, the first one we got was just me straight through the window. Now, the first few times I got this shot, it just really wasn't working. I was adjusting the ND filter, but it didn't matter how much I was adjusting it. I couldn't match the brightness and the overall ambience with the darkness in the car. What I realized is that I needed to add a light. So we took a magic arm, attached the light to it, and attached the magic arm to the car mount. So yeah, we were driving around with a camera and a light pointed at my face. Now, this allowed for me to actually be seen, but it also helped to lower the contrast. The image didn't feel right with me just being so dark. Now, once we did that with the first shot, we also had to do it with the mirror shot. That should be your main takeaway from this video, is that the car mount is not the only thing that you have to get really cool car footage. You need a polarizer, but even if you do get a polarizer, shooting during the day with clouds in the sky is going to block your view of the people. And also, you're still going to need to light some things up. Now I'd like to go over the pros and cons with the Camtree power mount. The first and most obvious pro for this car mount system is the price. Most other car mount systems that can support the weight of bigger cameras are going to cost quite a bit more. This one, however, was below $200, which makes it a very easy buy if you just need one singular shot. Another great thing about the Camtree is its reach. Other car mount systems don't have the same amount of rod length for you to get to the camera quite on the side. The small rig cam system, for example, has these magic arms that aren't quite as long. And also, with the Camtree, you can attach multiple legs together to make it even longer and wider, so that way you can put the camera in more unique positions. Now, I'm not saying you can stick it out really far, because if you do that, it'll get crushed under the weight over time, but you can stick it outside a window or to the side of your car. Other car mount systems are not going to be able to do that quite as much. The last pro is that everything comes into a box. If it didn't come into a box and I had to come up with my own storage solution, that would be a big headache. I'm not going to be using this thing every single day, so it's nice that I can just pack it up, put it somewhere else, and then when I need it, I can pull it back out. That would be really annoying if I didn't have a box with this. Now let's go over the cons. I do have quite a bit of issues, sadly. Some of them may not be issues for you, but I do need to go over them. The first thing I need to mention is that a lot of our footage is really shaky. Now, having a lot of camera shake isn't necessarily a bad thing. For example, if you're doing a car chase, that camera shake can add a lot of anxiety and danger to each shot. If your character is swerving in and out of traffic, having that shake can make us feel like we're in danger and that we're with them in the car going 100 miles per hour. But if you need a shot that's really cinematic, like you need the car looking at a bunch of trees and we slowly go by and it's very cinematic and smooth, well, this is not going to be the right mount for you because you're going to get so much shake in there. Now, if you're doing really speedy shots or you're going really fast, this might be the camera for you, but you need to think about the intention of your shots when you buy this thing. Now, if you do want really smooth cinematic shots with something like this, you probably need to install a gimbal onto it because that's going to have it to where it's a lot smoother. But for me, I got this because it was cheap, and me getting a whole separate gimbal just to put it on my camera would make this a lot more expensive, and it would detract from the reason I bought this thing in the first place. Another thing about the camera shake with this car mount is that it may not necessarily be 100% the car mount's fault. My car doesn't have the best suspension, and also the roads I was driving on, they weren't bumpy, but they did have quite a bit of hills. So you do need to keep that in mind. Also, if you put a smaller camera onto this car mount, it may actually give you a lot less shake, because right now, my camera, it's not the biggest camera, but it does have a big battery that adds quite a bit of weight and a lot of attachments. So a heavier camera may make it to where it's more wobbly, but a smaller camera might get less wobble. Or maybe I have that backwards. Maybe a smaller camera would actually be less wobbly, less shaky than a bigger camera. I don't actually know, I haven't really tested it. Maybe we could test a smaller 4K DSLR and see which one actually has more shake. But I did not do that for this video. Now, even though I said that this thing is simple, it's not necessarily the easiest thing to set up. A lot of the issues with the setup come from how this car mount is designed. One of the first issues I have with this power mount system is that whenever I loosen this and I go up, I can only go up to a certain point before it stops. And you think that this can be placed farther up than it actually can, so you have to reposition your whole system. If you do want this to go farther up, the way you would go about it is you would untighten this right here. Okay, so you'd grab this ball mount thing, untighten it, and then I think you can screw it in right here. All right, I'm gonna remove the head. There we go. All right, so you can grab this and you can screw it in right there. And yeah, now you're gonna need another one of these to attach the suction cup, and I think we only have 3 of these. Another problem I have with this system is that you can only make adjustments incrementally. So, do you hear that right there? Boom, boom, boom. It goes for the same for the left and right. So, boom, 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 boom. Now this isn't a huge issue, but sometimes you want the position of where you put this suction cup to be in the middle of one of these 2 points. And depending on how long your leg is, the longer the leg, the more of a difference this is gonna make. Now you might think that this isn't much of a problem, but it makes it to where making small adjustments are almost impossible. Now, the incremental adjustments probably make it to where it's a lot more stable. So once this is tightened, it doesn't have infinite degrees. It can get a lot tighter and a lot more stable, but it does make it to where it's a little bit harder for you to actually adjust the camera. Another thing I need to mention is that I have to worry about making sure that the left and right is locked, the up and down is locked, make sure this is locked, make sure the suction cup is screwed in, make sure that this rod is screwed in correctly, and it turns into quite a bit of things to have to look out for to make sure that your rig is stable. With the small rig system, it's 4 magic arms, which means that you only need to worry about around 4 different knobs, and then you can just place the camera where you want it after you have the suction cups down. But with this, every time I want to move my camera just a little bit, I basically have to loosen 1, 2, 3, times 3 is like 9 different knobs just for me to reposition the camera. And I can't really move it smoothly, so it makes it to where every time I want to reposition something, I basically have to restart. Now, if you're aware of all these things, you can still get some really great shots. But if you go in and you rush things and you don't plan out how you're going to actually attach this thing, then you're going to be stuck with a shot that doesn't look good, and you're going to have to restart to get it exactly where you want it. So just keep all those things in mind. All right, thank you for watching. If you want to pick something like this up, then I'll have an affiliate link down in the description. If you like the video, you can like it. And if you like filmmaking content, then you can subscribe to the channel. Thank you and have a wonderful day.